Walking the tightrope. Oh, Blake Griffin! Razzle dazzle! Oh, next!
The goal of basketball is to put the ball in the basket. However, throughout basketball history, the most effective methods for doing that have changed dramatically. Statistics, film study, and analytics have provided teams with new ways of seeing the game, resulting in drastic changes. In this series, I will be analyzing the top offensive team in each of the last 7 years, breaking down what systems and players helped them to achieve success, as well as how offense has evolved in order to hopefully answer the question, what makes an offense great in the modern NBA? Super teams don't work. If you've been following the NBA for long enough, you've probably heard this take before. A super team is generally defined as a roster featuring at least 3 all-star or superstar caliber players, joining forces to create a championship contending team. While this is exciting on paper, countless super teams have failed to live up to their hype or potential. There are a few main reasons for this. Firstly, superstar players often don't fit together in a basketball sense. Many superstars require the ball in their hands to maximize their effectiveness. However, there's only one ball on the court. If 2 or especially 3 superstars are on the court together, then they're likely not being maximized to the best of their abilities. Think of a team like the 2024 Phoenix Suns, featuring Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. Secondly, signing superstars often requires the team to spend a large portion of their salary cap. This means that they can't afford to sign higher value role players, and may have much weaker bench depth. An example is this year's Los Angeles Lakers. To afford LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves, they've been forced to start players who have been bought out of their contracts, like Marcus Smart and DeAndre Ayton. Thirdly, super teams often feature older versions of superstars who may not be in their physical prime. They tend to be more injury prone, which makes them less reliable. This was the case for a team like the late 1990s Houston Rockets, starring washed-up versions of Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, and Scottie Pippen. Also, there's the question of personality fit. Basketball aside, some super teams fail because the superstars on the team just cannot coexist. As J. Cole said, the bigger you get, the more likely egos collide. It's just physics. This was the downfall of the 2004 Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal Los Angeles Lakers. But there's no more quintessential case study of a super team than the 2021 Brooklyn Nets. Their big 3 of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden stands as arguably the most talented in NBA history. We'll explore how the Nets dealt with every major issue that a super team faces. How they managed to be the league's best offense in spite of their problems, and the reasons why they still ended up as a failure. The first issue that the Nets had to address was how to maximize their 3 stars simultaneously. Kyrie, KD, and Harden were all primarily on-ball scorers. A large part of each of their offensive games was bringing the ball up the court and taking their man in a 1v1 matchup. In 2020, Harden ranked first among players in isolation points per game, while Kyrie ranked 11th. Durant was hurt that year, but he ranked 7th in 2019. However, if one star is running isolation, then the other 2 aren't being maximally utilized. Therefore, the big 3 needed to adapt their playstyles to get others more involved. One change that was made was shifting James Harden's role from a primary scorer to more of a playmaker. The previous season in 2020, Harden took 22.3 shots per game, while getting 7.5 assists. But in his new role in Brooklyn, Harden's shots decreased to 16.6 per game, but his assists increased to 10.9 per game. This was beneficial because it brought a variety to the Nets' scoring offense, making them more unpredictable. Additionally, Harden's passing helped increase the effectiveness of both Kyrie and KD, as well as the Nets' role players. The Nets didn't have a lot of money to spend. Most of the role players couldn't create their own shots, but with Harden creating opportunities for them, they didn't need to. Kyrie and KD were also forced to adapt their playstyles, incorporating more off-ball actions into their games. These actions could be run while other stars ran isolations, meaning that they could remain effective while not having the ball. The previous year, Kyrie played 20 games for the Nets, while KD was recovering from his torn Achilles, as the lone star before the Harden trade. In those 20 games, 64.3% of his three-pointers were unassisted. Irving had the green light to bring up the ball, isolate on the perimeter, and just take a three. However, in 2021, with Harden and KD alongside him, this was no longer optimal. Just 42.1% of his threes were unassisted, as he functioned more as an off-ball movement shooter than a perimeter isolation scorer. In a similar manner, KD's unassisted three-point numbers dropped from 43.1% to 35.3%. He was already functioning in a primarily off-ball role in Golden State, but Brooklyn took it to a further extreme. Kyrie and KD's off-ball movement could preoccupy defenses, drawing attention away from Harden's on-ball actions and making his isolations easier. Equally, if Harden's 1v1s drew extra help, he was more willing to give up the ball and create for others, resulting in easier shots for Durant, Irving, and the Nets role players. In order to better accommodate each other, the Nets' three superstars were able to effectively change their roles, resulting in a more symbiotic relationship. However, if the team was to succeed, the Nets needed more than just these three players to be effective. It goes without saying that in order to sign the Big Three, the Nets needed to spend a lot of money. In 2021, Harden, Durant, and Irving had a combined cap hit of $115 million. Just those three players combined for more than the NBA's entire salary cap at the time, which is $109 million. This meant that every player the Nets signed on top of their Big Three would push them further over the salary cap and towards the luxury tax threshold. In order to build a functioning roster, the Nets needed to be smart with their money. The Nets' strategy was to prioritize signing players who could function offensively without the ball. With their three superstars, the Nets didn't need any further on-ball creation. They needed players who create value through movement or spacing around their superstars. In line with this strategy, the Nets' most expensive player outside of their Big Three was Joe Harris. Harris was a sniper. He won the three-point contest in 2019 and led the league in three-point percentage in both 2019 and 2021. His 47.5% shooting ensured that defenses remained glued to him, unable to leave him to help off him when the Big Three were playing 1v1, making their job easier. He wasn't just a stationary shooter either. Harris constantly ran off screens to get his shots up, with his movement and gravity confusing defenses and leading to breakdowns. In fact, he ranked 10th in the NBA for points off screens, right next to his teammate Durant in 11th. He was the perfect complementary piece to a group of on-ball superstars. The Nets also signed a pair of former teammates in DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. While both no longer in their prime, the two high flyers still provided strong off-ball value from their cutting and lob threat. In a similar manner to how Harris kept defenders glued to the three-point line, Griffin and Jordan kept them near the rim. Defenders knew that helping off the Lob City duo would result in an immediate alley-oop. Jordan was a pure rim stuffer. 61% of his field goal attempts were dunks, the highest rate in the NBA, and he ranked 4th in the NBA for dunks per game overall. Griffin was slightly more versatile. While he could still get up there, he developed other weapons like a 38.3% three-point shot, making him more of a Swiss Army knife. They might not have been at their peak athleticism, but the Lob City big men were both valuable contributors to the Nets' offense. Finally, but arguably most importantly, there was Bruce Brown. Nicknamed Biggie Smalls for his ability to play bigger than his height, Brown was the king of the little things. He ranked first among all guards in the NBA in cuts, backdooring defenders when they lost concentration, and getting easy layups as a result. He also ranked first among guards in offensive rebounds, crashing the glass with force to give the Nets valuable extra possessions. On a team of superstars, Brown's offensive hustle and motor was exactly what the Nets needed to round out their roster. None of these signings were particularly effective with the ball in their hands, but they didn't need to be. The Nets role players brought valuable skills such as spacing, movement shooting, cutting, and offensive rebounding, adding the finishing touches to an unstoppable offense. When you look at the roster that they constructed, it comes as no surprise that the Nets played isolation-heavy basketball. The 2021 Nets ranked second in the league in both isolation volume and efficiency, with Harden, Kyrie, and KD arguably being the three most effective isolation scorers in the game. While running one-on-ones, the Nets could simultaneously call an off-ball movement action, drawing defensive attention away from the ball through their motion. The Nets ranked 4th in the NBA in off-screen points, mainly driven by the motion of Joe Harris and Kevin Durant. If isolations drew help, Nets players could counter by cutting to the basket for easy dunks and layups. Harden in particular excelled at finding cutters in isolation, such as Bruce Brown, DeAndre Ayton, and Blake Griffin. And this led the Nets to rank 4th in the NBA off cuts as well. Offensively, the Nets were as perfectly constructed as a super team could possibly be. Not only did they have the superstar talent to run effective isolations, but they developed counters that keep defenses honest, like cutting and shooting off the ball. And they played with a hustle and drive that a lot of past super teams had lacked. They posted a 117.3 offensive rating, leading the league, and they entered the playoffs as the favorite to win the championship. There was no basketball-related reason why this team shouldn't have gone on to dominate the whole. That's the thing. Sometimes, success in basketball is about more than just basketball ability, and even more than just roster construction. Across their whole time together, the trio of James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving played just 8 games together in the regular season. This wasn't even that surprising, because Durant entered the 2021 season recovering from a torn Achilles, Kyrie had just played 20 games the previous season because of an ankle injury, and James Harden was very out of shape after sitting out for the Rockets. All of the success that the Nets achieved that regular season was despite these injuries. In the first round of the playoffs, the Nets defeated the Boston Celtics 4-1, a team who would go on to make the finals the following year, and they only lost 1 game to a Jason Tatum 50-piece. Then, in Game 1 of the second round against the Bucks, James Harden exited 1 minute into the game with a hamstring injury. And despite the loss of Harden, the Nets raced out to a 2-0 series lead before losing Game 3 by just 3 points. Then, in the fourth quarter of Game 4, Kyrie Irving picked up an ankle injury. 2-2 series. Harden was rushed back into the series for Game 5, but he played terribly, shooting just 1 of 10 from the field. However, Kevin Durant's 49 points put the Nets just 1 win away from the conference finals. However, with no Kyrie and Harden playing hurt, the Bucks won Game 6 before taking Game 7 in overtime to win the series. Even with all of their injuries, the Nets were a big toe away from winning the series. The Bucks went on to win the NBA championship that year, and the Nets' big three never played together again. The following year, Kyrie Irving refused to adhere to the New York City's vaccine mandate, and was thus only eligible to play away games for the Nets. This annoyed James Harden, who requested a trade, citing Kyrie's part-time role and team dysfunction, and he was traded on February 10, 2022. Almost exactly 1 year later, Durant and Irving were traded themselves, bringing the super team Nets era to an end. So, to answer the question that was posed at the start of this video, can super teams work? Yes they can. Contrary to the beliefs of many members of NBA media, I believe that the super team model is an effective way to construct a roster to bring success to an organization. There was a reason why the USA men's national team achieved success in the 2024 Olympics, but not in the 2023 FIFA World Cup, because talent wins basketball games. However, the roster has to be constructed carefully. Many organizations throw a random assortment of superstars together, believing that pure talent alone will get them to win a championship, and this has been repeatedly proven to not be the case. But the 2021 Brooklyn Nets were not one of those teams. The Nets assembled 3 superstars, made adjustments to their playing styles to help them fit together better, and made smart, value acquisitions targeting off-ball specialists. Going back to the Team USA comparison, it's similar to how players like Derek White and Drew Holiday received selections over more talented on-ball guys like Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham. The stars need to fit together in order to achieve success. At least offensively, the Brooklyn Nets should be the blueprint for how super teams construct their roster. In my opinion, without the brutal injuries they suffered, the Nets would have gone on to easily win the 2021 NBA championship. While it's possible that the team might have still collapsed in the long run, for a team like the Nets, who have never won a championship in their history, it would have been worth it. In reality, this didn't occur. But at least for 16 games, Nets fans had the excitement of seeing arguably the most talented basketball team in NBA history.
Seconds. Here comes Mitchell. Gobert! Utah takes the lead.